Hello. Okay, so I'm trying to work out a new angle where the camera is and all of that. Brought it down, brought it up higher, and it feels like it's a little too high, but we'll see. Hopefully it's not cutting me off. The other one I was watching yesterday and was like, oh, okay, it's looking down or it's looking up actually. Yeah, so it was looking up and just didn't really like that angle. And I'm also trying to get as least reflection from my glasses, which is not working. So I will, I guess, learn this stuff. That's the process, kind of learning as you go. So just my head, I wonder if I can just cut all of this out and just have my head. So I'm learning and I'll figure it out. So hello and welcome to day 7. And I'm still here. I'm still hanging in. And I appreciate those who have been watching it later. And I will get into that as do my usual here and just say we are live, which I actually already did. So, but let me just let the people who know, if you just want to watch, click here kind of situation. If you just want to watch and not and do a Dina, if that is Dina there. You have to chat with me on the side or do whatever. You can click here. Click this link. Just want to watch, click this link. So it's a good day. And I keep rushing around and then I'm committed to being here and being on time. So I've been eating and I said I have a plate of omelet, a spinach ground turkey omelet on the side here and some grapefruit juice. So like I said, not totally vegan, vegetarian yet, so, but I do try to do the healthy thing. And I want to definitely talk about that as well in terms of the processes. And everybody's making different groups. And sometimes you don't want, I have a whole lot of thoughts for groups. And I'm just like, I don't want to be the only one making 4 and 5 groups up there and things like that. Because even this is obviously a challenge in terms of, having people say they want to talk, but then, I'm going to talk about all of that. So let me just make sure I put this link in so I don't get sidetracked on that. So it only takes me a second. So that is done. If I click all of these clicky things. And see, now I gotta move the box out the way so I can be able to see the share button. Actually, that turns out that it's probably a little better. I'm trying not to get my little lamp in the background there. So, all right. So the Turner's Church thing is doing its thing. And welcome to everybody. And those people who've just been hanging with me. That's Dina, my one viewer who definitely hangs with me. And I'm not even saying that, the Craig Mama myself, as we've been saying. If you don't understand Craig Mama, go watch Javon on Facebook, because I ain't gonna explain it to you, because you definitely should be watching Javon. And also subscribing to Turner's Church at turnerschurch.com. I want to make sure I start plugging them, because this is kind of the reason even I'm here and on here doing this thing. So welcome. And today we're just going to kind of review the lesson, stick to the plans. And I had a whole little note today. I just felt like I was getting a lot from my source, I guess. So I had these little notes that I write on the side, and things also that I might wanted to mention in my little discussion. So the first thing, and I'm just going to start now. I was like, I'm going to be waiting to Timothy after, but I'm just like, people will just show up when they show up. So the first thing is today's lesson, which I thought that I say all that, and then I'm thinking that I put up the title of Javon's lesson today, which was the thing about the orgy. It was actually good. It was better than yesterday. And I said I'm finishing this out, and then I'm giving them a break in terms of just going with every single 21-day thing after yesterday's, which I really did have a problem with. But that's the good thing as well, is that you have a chance to kind of let things marinate, sit with things. That's when you say let it marinate. That's what it means. The verb to sit with, not marinate with food, which is also let it sit, but we're talking about a human action. So let it marinate, to sit with. Definitely have not going back on anything I said yesterday. But it's good that you just kind of have a little bit of time to think and also kind of come back and talk a little bit more about, just kind of what your thought processes were based on a lot of what you saw. So his class was titled, I'm sorry, I'm looking off just to make sure I got it here. I'm going to cut it and paste it. I thought I did that earlier because I was on earlier. Okay, so it says, you can't fuck everyone at the orgy. That was the title of his class this morning. And it was actually pretty good in terms of, where he was coming from. Obviously, he's using it as his sex analogy about it, but in general, and I always just kind of talk about what I got from it. And if anybody in the future wants to share, I'm sure there'll still be comments up. I'm looking over it just to make sure that I have the Turner's Church window up where I can see it. So for future reference, if you want to say something and you're just on the watch link, you can just type into the chat box on Turner's Church, because we want you to be on Turner's Church and supporting them and what they're trying to do. They put up a wonderful video today, by the way, about their luncheon. We're just kind of seeing, it was, Javon and Corey and Chris and Shamika and a lot of the other crew whose names I don't really know or remember. And what they're just kind of trying to do. And, they did it at the Underground, and it was just a nice little catering event with a Black caterer. And I'm just like, that's what I'm talking about. These are the things that, certainly feeling like you're getting connected to something and you really want to be a part of something with the Black community, that I'm just like, these are the things that I certainly appreciate about them. And just get, hit the ground running with these types of things. Just do it. And that's one of the reasons that I'm doing this, daily talk. And I said, I'm going to stick with it. It's because, we need to start doing these things, and, there's no perfect scenario. And I'm one of those people who in the past has had a lot of issues with, being very idealistic and being very perfectionist about things, and sometimes you do that so much that you don't get anything done. So the best thing to do is to just do it and see where it goes from there and see where it takes you. So that is what I am doing. I wanted to do the book club. I'm like, whoever shows up, I'm reading the book. So that's what works for me. If you show up, fine. If you don't show up, I'm still going to be there. And I have been doing that. And same thing with this. If you show up, fine. If you don't show up. So I guess going back, first of all, to the lesson, and then I'll talk a little bit more about that. Let's see what he talked about in terms of, he was just kind of talking about being able to kind of enjoy his process, taking somebody to an orgy. Again, some story that he goes into, but and she wasn't, he wanted to kind of set it up where at least he took her in and got her involved in an orgy where at least he knew the people and all this other stuff. But she was just like, I don't want to go to something where everybody or that kind of situation. And so he was like, okay. So then when they got to the orgy, and I guess these are real situations, but he's using some sort of analogy of it. But she wasn't, she was kind of not having fun and shy or whatever the case may be when she got there. And he was just like, okay, well, you stay here and I'm going to hook up with people and whatever. And then of course she still ended up having a good time after the fact, but the only thing she could focus on was you went off and did your thing and left me. And and I think after that she was like, well, when we gonna do it again, contacting him, call him up to say when we gonna do it again. And he was like, we're not gonna do it again. We're not hanging out because you was messing up my vibe in that kind of situation. So don't really know how to tie that in, but I guess the gist of it in terms of everybody is not gonna like you. You're not gonna like everybody. He was kind of talking about, those people who want to move to Durham because Durham is going to be, the next Black Wall Street, and he'll make a way, and he'll make a place for them. Things that I totally support, and I think is a wonderful idea. I guess because I didn't write any notes down with this particular one, and I know they had gotten cut off. There was 2 interruptions, I think, because Chris got cut off in the end, and then there was another interruption in the middle. So I didn't have. I watched the whole thing, but I'm just like I can't really say that I had any particular reference. But I did feel like it was better than yesterday, and maybe just in general because of just how heavy yesterday's made me feel. I was like, okay. I'm reaching over to turn on my fan because I live in Nevada and it gets warm. Sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's warm. Yesterday was a cool day, even here, and now it's getting warm. So I'm just like turning on the fan. And I listened to the whole episode yesterday in the background while I was doing some things around the house as well. And my voice comes through very well in terms of volume. And I was wondering if I should turn it down. So I guess I'm kind of thinking aloud, but I think that's good because I know sometimes some phones and some laptops and everything are, you have to be messing with the volume. And a lot of times people say they can't hear, but apparently you can hear me. My voice has always been that way in the sense that it kind of booms a little bit and comes through rather well. So hopefully that is the case. But anyway, I felt that the lesson was better today in terms of some of the analogies he gave with regards to the orgy and doing your own thing and people being blue dotted line, and maybe your blue dot is smaller. And I even think it sometimes, even though I may be a little hesitant with a lot of what he's doing and stuff like that. People may get second guess whether or not, am I one of the blue dots? Am I blue dotted line? And I kind of feel like I'm connected, if you want to call it blue dotted line, but I just certainly feel like a lot of what Turner's Church in general is about, it resonates with me. So let's see what happens here. Because I can see, and I don't want to wear my glasses all the time, but even for me, as I look over, and then I'm wondering if I'm going to be squinting, and people get accustomed to seeing you with glasses, and then, you look very different without your glasses and stuff. But I'm looking at this, trying to figure out how to do this, get rid of the screen or figure it out. So anyway, yeah, so I feel like, I guess if you want to call it blue dot line, but definitely connected to what they're trying to do. So I kind of been sticking with the lessons. They are on day 17 or 18 or something like that. So like 3 more lessons or 3 more days to go with this 21-day thing. And then I'll just be talking in general whenever I catch it, because I probably won't go with another cycle of things. I've gone through all 3 of the cycles, the first master's class, the 21 days of alignment, and now this 21 days of horny. So I am at my, for me, I'm at my fill in the sense of, at least following it in a structured way. And going forward now, I will just watch it whenever I can and make comments on it. So now that is all I have to say about today's lesson. Again, it was called, I always have to repeat this thing, so write it down. You can't fuck everyone at the orgy. And he would also, I think, in terms of that, because Javon is very a man's man and a lot of stuff, and he's like he said, in his mind, everybody wants to fuck him, or he wants to fuck everybody, or something to that effect. And and I know every time I say stuff like that, I'm just like, my whole face is like, but do you? But I do believe that in terms of not that. Believe that, but how I relate it is that everybody's not going to be moving on to another kind of segueing into another topic. Is that everybody, is not going to like or be into what you are into, and that has to be okay with you because you're only dealing with you. And I keep going back to that because ultimately we can only control ourselves and what we are trying to do. And hopefully we can bring people along, but we know that it's very difficult in terms of whether it's our family, whether it's our friends, whomever it is, that it presents some challenges in terms of trying to have people on the same page, and just trying to get people to come along with what you want them to do, because it's what you want to do. And that's the thing about remembering it. I was talking to my I sent my niece a text, because when we're dealing with the teenagers, apparently that's how they communicate. Even though she did call me, she wanted to talk to her auntie yesterday because she's having some stressful issues. But I sent her a text because she's actually been accepted to one of the historically Black colleges, which is where I want her to go. And but I've been very emphasizing a lot of, it's ultimately what you want to do. It's about you making your decisions, but kind of also understanding and leading her in the way of understanding defining moments, which is something I'll share here, about not making decisions based on other people, but these are moments, that you are making choices for your life, for the next steps, or the next 2 years, the next 5 years of your life. And at the same time, trying to buck those narratives, buck those systems, particularly for Black people, that tell us we have to be a part of these systems that aren't for us, have never accepted us, continue to tell us to do a particular thing, and they are not going to support us no matter what we do. If they tell us to get a job, we get jobs, and that's not good enough. They tell us to get education, we get educations, that's not good enough. Our word is not good enough. Being witnesses to crimes in our community, we are not sufficient and credible witnesses. All of those types of things. So trying to be a part of the system for now several centuries is just stupid. We need to wake the hell up and realize that no matter what we do, these people have shown us, we have the evidence that these people are not interested in us truly being equal partners in this journey as American citizens, as Black people on this planet, because racism is global. That's how good a job it has done. So, so sometimes it's those difficult things. Now I'm educated. I have degrees, plural, and you don't want to tell people, or, because you've gone through and you've got the credentials they said you should have, and I do have them. I have to pull them out one day. I probably will do it on this camera just for laughs, where I have to blow the dust off my nice, cute plaque, and, with the degree and all of that kind of crap that I just now keep in the back of in the closet. So, but you kind of go out and do these things, and you really still realize that no matter what, you're not part of the system. Plus, when, these crazy psychopathic white men with badges, slave law enforcers, because that's initially what the history of police came from, come up against you, they're not, and approach you and assault you, they're not asking for your background. They're not asking, are you a whatever kind, what's your credentials? Did you graduate from high school or college, or all of those types of things. So it's difficult in that sense. I am much more of an advocate for college. I think for pretty much PK to 12th grade. I feel like homeschooling at this point for Black people, especially with all of the crap that they are trying to. Yes, I have grapefruit just today. Pink grapefruit. The crap that they're trying to do with the laws to start actually hitting kids with a felony, and we know it's all directed towards us. I think it's already been implemented in Missouri, or it has already taken effect in Missouri by a Democratic governor. That they will hit if kids are fighting in schools or assault somebody in schools, that it'll be a felony no matter what grade, no matter what age. And we know clearly that is directed towards our kids, because it has already disproportionately in terms of suspensions and just in general getting in trouble in school and being persecuted in an unfair way has affected our children more so. So I'm at the point where I'm definitely homeschooling. And I was, when homeschooling initially started catching, momentum, another word for that. I was not really for it in the sense that, first of all, maybe I didn't have a good enough understanding of it. And then sometimes because some of my initial internships were with people who were just using it as an excuse. When I was interning at a middle school, I remember people using it as an excuse basically to keep their children at home, because the bullying thing had also, one of the reasons was for the bullying thing had gotten so bad, but then just a whole lot of other issues, not with the children, but with the parents, and just crazy issues. And but it has progressed. One of the best family examples happens to be a Black family. Their last name is Bush, ironically, and they're from Washington, D.C. And they have their children have done amazing. You can look them up, Google them. I think all of their children were like in high school and in college at the same time, doing the homeschooling, and still are continuing to go on, maybe now in brick and mortar colleges, now that once they graduated from high school, but kind of really have done that. And also we're active in sports, we're active in the arts, had well-rounded situations and circumstances. And they weren't the only ones. A lot of the children that graduated last year, quite a few of them, about half of them were homeschooled, and have gotten accepted to quite a few Ivy League colleges and all those types of things. So I agree with Javon. That was something he said earlier when he was just talking about go get the white man's education and those types of things. I think one of the things I told my nephew when I was helping him get through college is, sometimes the biggest gift college can give you is that it just enhances your common sense. And when you're in there back and forth fighting them about what I just was looking just to see if just in case somebody left a message. So fighting them about all of their lies, which almost all of it is lies, or combating them, should I say, about all of their inaccuracies and stereotypes and all those other things. It just really does kind of turn the volume up on your common sense and on your sensibilities and on your logic and on your rationale. So those are the things I agree with. It's hard when sometimes I'm just totally like, fuck the whole system. I was going to say forget, but no, I'm like, fuck the whole system. And I do think that in a general sense, but also, as I said, because I have, graduated from college and those types of things more than once. So it's, you don't want to be a hypocrite and be like, okay, you got yours. Now you're telling people don't get theirs. So so I'm not going to do that. And that's the same thing with my niece, where she's kind of going through, and I'm just like, look, take the opportunities, take the risk. It might be scary, but, get out there in the world and stand up and be the best you that you can be. So that is what I am hoping for her. And she's kind of just, it's that kind of season when you're senior year that just a whole lot of things are going on. And I just really want to support her in the right way. So much so that I was like, even if I move with you, which I'm like saying it, I'm like, oh, please don't take me up on it, but I would do it. Is, if she's so uncomfortable and this is so out of her comfort zone, I would move with her for the first year that she's in school, maybe take a class or maybe get a job and on campus or something like that. So she would at least feel like she has somebody who truly loves her and truly supports her, who would be there for her as she's getting comfortable navigating college life. And then I'm ghost in, her sophomore year and be like, I'll be back at graduation. So, but those are the things, obviously parents know, and I'm just an auntie, but I certainly feel like a parent with my nieces and nephews and things like that. But the type of sacrifices and the compromises we as parents technically would make for for the children to hopefully have the best. And they ain't thinking about us, they think about themselves. So sometimes you get like these little ingrateful, I do and all of this stuff, but you have to remember you had those moments too. So it's just good that hopefully you will support your children in what they're doing. And particularly, I'm almost always only talking about Black people and Black children, Black men, Black women, Black children, in terms of this tremendous love and support you have wanted to send it in that direction. And it's exactly true for us. We can say, we don't need to say it when we, you know, like we sometimes don't need to say things around white people and stuff like that. We know we make mistakes. They make way more mistakes and they get away with it because of privilege and things like that. But we know that we also are dealing with knuckleheads and just crazy situations that we need to deal with and handle in our communities and as well. But you know, when we can do good and do right with regards to our families and the little spaces that we occupy, our little boxes, then we should do that. So that is the most important thing. So that was number 2. Let me check my list to see where I'm at with that, because I was talking about my niece, and I think that was kind of part of what I ultimately wanted to say. So I didn't do a manifestation yesterday because I was so put off by Javon that I forgot the manifestation. So I called it co-creation on the first day that I did it. And the co-creation was kind of putting something purposefully in your boom boom room. And then hopefully other people who see this later or whatever point, they can kind of also join in with you. It's like when the church says something about when 2 or 3 agree, or touching my name, or whatever their analogy of it is. I'm slowly getting those verses, but I have those little bits and pieces left of it, you know. But I know that that's, as I said, I understand, and even with that, I'm starting to understand that a lot of Black people are coming from a foundation of the church. So I kind of have to understand that as they transition out of it, and make sure that I am not diminishing that the experience might have been good for people when it was, because I'm sure that that is the case. And even with me, there's been when it was an experience that I needed it to be. I remember when I had just come back from overseas, because they deployed my ass when I was in the Army. And I was over there for Bush at the time and his oil, Bush Cheney and their oil. And I was really pissed about it and things like that. And I had suffered some PTSD, and I went through a very, 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 very bad breakup at the same time. So I had those 2 things going on. So definitely being able to sit in the back of the church and boo-hoo about everything and get my head right was helpful. And that's what I needed at the time, even though even back then I was doing my meditation and stuff like that. What the quick fix I needed, or the quick thing that just helped me, was to just kind of do the church thing as I progressed. And you know, but I could tell you the second that I was better or healed, I couldn't even stay awake in church. I mean, I was like, oh, it was like, okay, I must be all right now, because I cannot even process this preaching stuff they talking about. I started nodding off and yawning and just couldn't even do it. So, you know, so I guess I kind of used it for whatever I was going to use it for, and then just kind of moved on from it. But the manifestation part in the 2, see, I actually remember when I go all off on my tangents. But the manifestation, I called it co-creation the first day, but I want to make sure that we're talking about producing either things. It can be a person, place, or a thing. It can be, you know, some sort of mental. I always want to go back to the mental aspect of it and what's going on in our heads and stuff like that. So the first day for me, and what I shared here, was $42,000, manifesting that, putting that in your boom boom room, in your vortex. Your vortex and your boom boom room are the same things, if you're wondering. It's just that Javon came up with actually a very good analogy to say your boom boom room, from the movie Life, which I actually wasn't even a fan of that movie, because I didn't like that they were, you know, in jail for life for something they didn't do. And that's a whole nother systems issue. So, but our boom boom rooms that we have taken that back and made it into something good here with Javon's idea, is to put $42,000 in the boom boom room. And then now I don't want to look up, because now I'm trying to keep my glare down. So $21,000 to donate to Javon's school, or whatever they want to do, Turner's Church, whatever the case, and then $21,000 for you. That way you ain't feeling like, you know, you giving $21,000 you ain't got. You giving yourself $21,000 first as well. Pay yourself first, and then also donate, which you should probably do in real life, and have a certain percentage that you donate. If you're learning about budgets, you probably will learn about that. And then the next day was to compound onto that, right, and add on to it, was so the $42,000. And then the next day I said I wanted a first class ticket and minivan rental, because I'm going to New York, as I said, for my niece's graduation. So I was going to do that anyway, buy a regular coach ticket and then rent a mini car that I usually do, or ride the compact cars. But I was just like, why not treat myself to something bigger, larger? So that was my second day manifestation. And then also my third day manifestation is I want to move. I like my apartments because I don't like to do any maintenance and stuff like that. But I did want to get something like a small home, because I talked about cleaning your space. So I don't want a big house kind of situation, but because I want to have a home office, and especially the office aspect of it, like I like all my monitors and being able to set up something for a lot of the things that I'm interested in doing, that I will share some of probably on here. You know, that's my third thing that I would like to manifest. Is just kind of getting my home office headquarters, as I like to call it, set up. So those are my three things. So every day I'm just trying to add something onto it and write it down, and whatever yours are too. So I'm just kind of wishing that for everybody who's watching, and whether it be Dina or anybody, I speak to her because I know she's been here listening, and you know, and Kim as well. I know she's not going to be here today as well. She let me know that. But just anybody, I'm just going to start speaking in broad terms, because this may be on here forever and people be like, who's Dana and Kim? So, but yeah, anybody who wants to just kind of do that, to just put it out there that I'm always kind of pushing for you and, you know, rooting for you. And hopefully whenever you see this, you'd be like, I hope she got her stuff too. And that's how we do it. It's whatever we want in terms of manifesting and making sure that we are wishing, you know, well for everybody else and what they got going on in their boom room rooms. I always think it's funny when Chris, you know, is all like, I like to visit people, everybody else's boom boom room. And it is true sometimes when, you know, she does do that. And I think that that's a good thing that she does. So, so that's it in terms of just accumulating and compounding on the things that you desire, some of the things that you want to manifest. And it doesn't always have to be material things, but sometimes it's just easiest to think about the material things. You know, if you wanted a new car, you know, you can think about the car. You can actually know the car you want. I have the car that I want, and that is going to be up there on my phone. See that? So it's real talk when you say you want those things, and, you know, you want to start manifesting them, and you want to be able to look at them and stay focused at that. Look at that. You know, you like, are you real serious? You got the color, you got the look, all those types of things, because, you know, it's real for me, and you want to make it, you want to bring it to fruition. You want to make it real. You want to make it live. So that is that. So the next thing is, as I said, this is about for reality in terms of law of attraction, because I always want to take it to law of vibration, law of attraction, two things that I get from this, and that I see as very powerful things, and that I see has their origins in spirituality, in our African origins and spirituality. We have all fallen off and gotten off track because we were stolen from our original place, our motherland, and just, you know, the destruction, and that has been extremely Black and white in terms of the forces that have we've been dealing with. So with that being the case, we just kind of need to be conscious that we're not also making this another ritual, another tradition, and just creating a lot of history where we find ourselves saying things like we need to go back to. We don't really have a go back to. We need to always kind of be in the mindset, in my opinion, of creating in the now or creating for the future. And the reason that I say that is because I kind of find that people are, you know, sometimes when we start going, you know, we need to, a woman's role is this or a man's role is that. And I see that even a lot, obviously, with Yvonne's class and things like that. And if you embrace that, do you? But that is not the situation or the circumstance that we find ourselves dealing with in an everyday sense. I mean, you know, people go, oh, well, you know, that maybe that's not your circumstance or your situation. And again, as I said, sometimes you can only deal with your box. But we know that we're dealing with a lot of single mothers, single parent homes. We know that we have a system that has created that. And, you know, we can say how we want to say, we can embrace it, though, you know, or whatever role we played in it, we did, I suppose. But we need to kind of balance those things out in terms of understanding, you know, yeah, our men are in prison, you know, but not a lot of them as much as they like to say. So just kind of being conscious of what is true and what is not true, what we can handle and what we can deal with, and what we can't handle, what we can't deal with, those types of things. So I guess one of the things for me was just making sure that I emphasize that and say that we are not going to be traditionalists, not going to be get into rituals, and not getting stuck on saying this stuff about, you know, well, there was a time, because I remember having a conversation with my mom, just to make that point. We weren't really talking about a thing, but, you know, when people say, well, there was a time when a man wouldn't ask a woman for money, and I think I used this maybe on day one, and I was just like, well, when? Because even at my age, and it's every age going on, I can give away my age, maybe, I don't know if you can guess or not, but anybody's in their kind of 30s, 40s, 50s area, those types of things, where you just like, it has been a kind of a down and out situation for a long time. And in that situation, people have been down and out for a long time. So yes, there have been men who have been supported by women who have no problems, supporting men financially, and, you know, all of those types of things. And people are like, oh, well, we need to go back to being the breadwinners. I know there was a fight on that they broadcast, well, a man who stopped the fight this week, and he stopped the fight between two black boys. It was a black man. He stopped the fight between two black boys, and it was a really wonderful, you know, story. And they gave him a little award for it from the city. I think it might have been Chicago, you know, but someplace. And, you know, it was just a really good feel-good story. And of course, a lot of people jumped on that and was just like, this is why we saying we need men to, you know, because a woman wouldn't have been able to do that. And I'm just like, can we just deal with this one story before we start going into this grand thing that's going to suddenly change every situation? Because that particular day that he stopped that fight, he didn't stop fights all over the United States. So these are the types of things where we do that, where we make this broad stroke thing. And it's okay that we obviously need to make it about a discussion, but sometimes we tend to do these things with black people, where we everything, you know, you want to take off on this topic and then nosedive and crash. And that's kind of where I was coming from when I say, you know, getting into the idealism, the superstitions, the traditionalism, the perfectionism, all of those types of isms that may not be as helpful as we're thinking and getting on this law of vibration and this law of attraction. After I finish these 21 days, which, as I said, because I'm not going to be doing the Javon thing after they finish their 21 days, I probably will have something more topical and start, you know, pulling out my tons and tons of notes, because I do already have tons and tons of notes, and talking about specific things. And these things will be a little shorter, because I don't need to spend an hour talking about a particular thing, but maybe 20 minutes, if that, 30 minutes at the max, just talking about things and sharing things going forward. But I was thinking about that. And I was even thinking about real superstitions that we used to have, like step on a crack, break your mama's back, don't split the pole, don't sweep my foot with the broom. I'm trying to think of some of the stupid ones when I was growing up. I'm sure there's a whole lot of other ones that people have. Just all of those types of things where I used to call, when I didn't believe in them anyway, but I would call them stupid stitions, you know. But, you know, even to combat them, in the back of my mind, like, what if they are true kind of situations? When I was, you know, I would always have something to say, you know, have an alternative word just to say that, you know, this is what's real, you know, I'm blessed, and, you know, I don't live by superstitions, whatever affirmation or something like that, that you might want to put on those types of things to get yourself to move away from the superstitions and the nonsense that is not helpful to you. Yeah, I'm just looking over on this board. So just to make sure. Okay. So, oh, I forgot to mention that Javon actually left me a message on the timeline saying he liked that I was doing this 21 days of daily chat. So shout out to him, and I appreciate that and thank him for the support. See, and that was another thing too about yesterday. I didn't it really wasn't much more I could say about yesterday, except to say, I wonder if I start chewing this, will it be? I didn't want my omelet to be warm. I mean, cool when I eat it, and I don't believe in microwaves. I do not have a microwave. Don't want a microwave. I guess another one of those things we'll talk about. Why don't you want a microwave? So, but yeah, he left me a message to say, you know, keep doing it. It'll be what it will be, kind of situation. And I am going to keep doing it. But I do appreciate that his encouragement in that sense. And as I said, I think I've had my fill of his daily classes, just kind of ritualistically watching them. And I probably won't be doing that after this 21 days, but I'll still be supporting, because that's, you know, helped to even get me going. I was doing this, but definitely to get with a bunch of other Black people and be able to do the law of attraction. I really, really am grateful and thankful for that. So I appreciate the shout out. So that is that. But yeah, he gave me a little shout out yesterday on the timeline of Turner's Church. Go to turnerschurch.com and you'll see that. Or you won't see it, but go to turnerschurch.com. So I saw this other thing on on Facebook, and I am like everybody, like a lot of people have been saying lately, you're not on Facebook on a regular. Did anybody see that gnat go? I saw it in the picture. I saw it on the film. There was a little gnat just flew over there. We're in that season where these little gnats are flying around. If you have any fruit and vegetables in your house, they'd be trying to get around. So I had to make sure I cut my fruit up and put it in the fridge, and you know, but they still manage to live there 24 hours annoying you. So Dr. Sebi, who I am a fan of, and he died last May, I think it was, anywhere between May and August, he passed away, or they killed him, because you know how they do us. At the man, you know, if you haven't heard about it, look it up. But it seems definitely like they killed him. He was an older man anyway, so of course it's going to be less suspicion. Reaching over to turn off the fan. It's going to be less suspicion about when an older man in his 80s dies, but we are so at the point where they murder us on such a regular basis. It is a bit of desensitization. You know, even when we get to speculation and suspicions about behind the way a person passed away. But more than likely, if you're thinking that there was some suspicious circumstances behind his death, which it definitely was, you know, they killed him. So that's the unfortunate thing. But since then, it's been some controversy as far as whether or not his products are legitimate. He has the main office out in California where you can go to and buy products, but then they were saying that the people that were running it had been waiting for him to die anyway so they could take it over, or just do whatever they wanted to do, and that the products weren't going to be the same quality, don't buy them, all of the things, you know. And then a whole lot of scam people came out. I saw a scam guy on YouTube, and that was definitely hawking some garbage, and it was just the most ridiculous, transparent phoniness that, you know, that you could see. And I was just like, wow, you know. But I guess you're embracing your inner scumbag. These are the things I do appreciate from the lessons Javon talked about and stuff like that, because sometimes that's what it is. You just say you just being a scumbag, but they're not going to say that, obviously, because everybody ain't watching his program to say, you know, you're doing these particular things because you're a scumbag. So, but somebody put up, and I think it's a woman, that Javon shared a couple of her videos. So I don't know whether she's part of the class or whatever, or just, you know, somebody maybe that he's watched or followed back. But she had put up a guy who had a really terrible experience with Dr. Sebi's hair follicle formula. And basic gist of it is that it burned the shit out of his scalp. This guy's scalp was fucked up. I don't curse often, but how else can you say it? It was just like all matted, burnt. You know, I think he said he had second and third degree burns on his scalp, and it was just a mess. And he was actually back on there to talk about how everybody was saying, oh, it was fake. He was just trying to discredit Dr. Sebi, all those types of things. So it was a really bad situation. You probably can find him online. I think his first name was James, and I think the woman who was sharing the video was Mona something. But yeah, when he took off, he had on the gauze on his head, you know, bald head, and then he had the gauze wrapped around it. And I guess, you know, obviously he was taking the hair follicles maybe because he was losing his hair. You know how men get the receding hairline. I know I've been dealing with my edges situation here, thankfully growing back. But and that's another thing, talking about my natural hair as well. And stuff, my teeny weeny afro. The shrinkage is real though, but it's all right. I'm loving it. I just got to get it going in the right direction. Yeah, so he, you know, but his hair got screwed up. But I think my whole point of this is that Dr. Sebi did some good things. I always like to watch Dr. Sebi's videos with Dr. Sebi talking and conversing about his philosophy for health that was primarily for Black people. And a lot of it was really just kind of using electric foods and just not the garbage. And even the lot of how a lot of the fruit is hybrids, and we kind of already know all of that now, where you can get all this seedless fruit when fruit is primarily not supposed to be seedless. Seedless watermelon, seedless grapes, and grapes is one of my favorite fruits. I have grapes that I just finished today. Actually, I was gonna say I have grapes, but I hate them all and things like that. And that's one of my favorite fruits. And it's true, you can't get anything but the seedless ones, so you end up eating those because it's just kind of limited. And I do try to have quite a bit of fruit, but they've just kind of messed with a lot of what Mother Nature started with. So I think I was just kind of just saying, you know, that it doesn't have to be that we take and start to discredit the originating founding fathers of a lot of the movements things, because they have in some way gotten tainted and saturated down the line. This man is dead, but if you listen to what he was saying when he was talking about alkaline water and talking about fruits and the fruits and vegetables obviously being primarily and almost wholly vegan and pure vegan in a lot of the context, and really just he on his food menu, if you hopefully watch Ty's Conscious Kitchen on here, but on YouTube, when I say Ty's Conscious Kitchen, because he tries to use those ingredients, but it's like under 15 ingredients ultimately that he says you can eat from, and you would be healthy and you wouldn't have any diseases. And he's one of those ones who said he cured cancer and AIDS and all of these diseases and those types of things. And I believe him. I believe that, you know, with his intentions and people following his protocol when he was alive, I think that it was helpful. His first wife is the one, if my understanding is correct, who came out with the products, and based on those products, it was a really good formula in terms of the things that she put out. But over the years, obviously other hands have gotten into it, or at least from my observation, other hands have gotten into it. And definitely now that he's dead, it's gotten tainted. And it's true, you may not know what you're getting. So it's unfortunate, because a lot of people, I just saw another lady who was on there that she bought like $1,000 worth of stuff for her mom, who has a couple of different cancer issues going on in her body, and obviously just wanting to heal, you know, the mother you have and love and keep her around. You're trying to do all this health stuff, and then now you finding out that this you know, this stuff that used to be a good product, or a product that people could say a lot of good things about, now is not the same product it was. So it's a really touchy situation, but I guess for me, it's just one of those things in terms of that wasn't necessarily Dr. Sebi's thing. And I also saw a young person who's he's also kind of doing this fruit of life kind of situation, eat clean. And it's a young guy, maybe in his early 20s, early to mid 20s or something like that. And, you know, he got up there and saying, you know, talking about how everybody, all these people before him is false. And I'm like, see, this is kind of what would like to not see happen with us Black people. And he's a Black man, of course, a Black young man. And don't do that. Just do you. And we don't have to necessarily, it's okay if you want to say, okay, these things are not going to be helpful for you. And if you, I guess, want to point out somebody who was a scam, but you can't really say that Dr. Sebi, in my opinion, it was a scam because he wasn't even behind the business. Even when he was in his, I think one of his last interviews, he was just saying he's fine with giving these people the company to sell those products that they're going to send you, because he's about just wanting to have a free place for people to come. So I guess that's just my thought on that. And I think my final thing that I will talk about today in the last 8 minutes, so we can finish at an hour today, is I have a couple of different things, but I can save them for other days. I said superstitions, talked about Dr. Sebi, and the other thing is Oprah. I'm a big fan of Oprah. I consider her one of my spiritual mentors. I was already a fan of Maya Angelou, and then Oprah. And then obviously Oprah was one of her kind of spiritual daughters as well. So she, you know, quoted Maya Angelou. And I talked about this the other day about the cage bird sings. But I think also one of the things I thought about is that Oprah is one of those really vibrationally aligned people too. And one of the good things that, you know, in terms of her being the ultimate, again, some people maybe love her or hate her and stuff like that because she has to handle her business here on earth. In her human physical form, she's doing what she needs to do. But I think that she is one of those people who, you know, people genuinely, when we all imagine getting famous for whatever we want to get famous for, if we can sit down with Oprah, even though she doesn't have a show and hasn't had a show now for already going on like 10 years that her show has been over. So she's been out of it for a minute. You know, when people still want to sit down with Oprah and have that interview with Oprah. So, and I think that, you know, and you want to do it in terms of, you want, you know, your spirit to connect with her spirit. You think about having this deep conversation with her. And I think that that is also a vibrational thing. And I think that that's really impressive. I thought about it, obviously, going to go to my socio-cultural, psychological aspects of it and stuff like that. And I remember when she was on the rise, and, you know, over the years, she's surrounded by a ton of white people. Her, you know, obviously in terms of handling her business and how she has gotten to her success. And one of the things, particularly when she would have her, who was hiring, because we have this issue, this real world issue going on now, right, about women wanting their rights. And of course, it's white women. And should we be marching with them white women? And I don't think we should be, in those types of things. And I thought about her. I thought that she was a good example in terms of, you know, you have people that are for you and that's trustworthy. But I really think, and I continue to think, that when those people had the opportunity to hire other people, even though they had a black woman as their boss, they hired other white women. White women hired other white women or hired other white people. If you look back over Harpo's entire existence from back in Chicago to now moving to California, she's surrounded by white people. And I know she doesn't have time to be the CEO of her, the COO, so that would be the chief operating officer in her corporation. And then seeing who below her is, and who are they going to be hiring. But when it came down to it, all those nice white women who are supporting her and love Oprah and have been in Oprah's camp all of these years, those white women hired other white women and other white people. She does have, obviously, over these years, these last few years, and I saw her at a table reading with the writers for Greenleaf, and it was a little bit more of a diverse cast, even though the head writer and the creator of the show is a white man. You know, but there were people of color. It was a mix, an eclectic mix of people. But I always looked at her whenever especially I saw her 25th year, whenever her show was going off, and she did that video of the whole time of Oprah, 25 years or 20 years or whatever. I think it was 25. So I'll go with 25. 25 years of Oprah and things like that. And she showed a lot of the behind scenes from the very beginning till now. And again, in terms of who has been in charge of the operations of Harpo Studios, Oprah Winfrey Incorporated, Oprah Winfrey, blah, 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 you know, because Oprah Winfrey Big Baller Incorporated, that she is, has been white people. And, you know, white people can look at this and go, well, then it looks like white people made her really successful because she a billionaire. And I think, fuck you for that. But I think ultimately, you know, would it have gone the same way if she had had Black people behind her? I feel like, yeah, because this is the thing. When are we going to get to the point when we step out and take the risk and find the fuck out? If it would be the same situation, the same scenario for her with Black people, and letting, you know, having the Black people and recognizing why you keep handling. I always remember with and this is my final thing on this. I always remember with Puff Daddy when he had the fashion show coming up, and he had the white people, I think it was white people in charge, or whoever was in charge of his fashions coming up, and they had all of these white models, and he just cussed them the hell out. It was like, look, this is, you know, my brand. I keep telling y'all what I want. Every time I keep looking around, y'all keep putting all these white people, these white models in here. I already told y'all I don't want that, you know. And whatever his making, I don't know whether it was making a band or just following Puffy around back then when he did that. But that's the type of thing that I want to see a lot more of, that we are taking a stand. Yes, it might be some good white allies if you want to believe that. I don't particularly believe that. I think white allies go back and do white people stuff. Go to your white churches, go to your white police departments, those type of things. You really want to start proving. I know corporate America, the same thing. Go, you start having a daily march against corporate America for what they're doing to Black people first, and then other people of color, because we already know once we out there doing it, everybody else is going to benefit more than us anyway. So I'm just saying all of that basically to say that Oprah often talks fondly and lovingly about her crew, her staff, the people who have supported her over the years. But I think in the end, one of the things, when you look around at who these people were and who they continue to bring in, and Oprah was obviously busy being Oprah, and you ain't have time to necessarily stop and look. They were hiring other white people. And I have a problem with that, because I think we're still talking about, you know, inequality in terms of salaries, problems with diversity, and most corporations are staffed. Most human rights departments are staffed by white women, and we still have salary problems, and we still have diversity problems, because them bitches is bitches. And I could definitely tell my stories with crazy ass white women, and it's just one of those things where it's, you know, these people are not trying to fix these things. They really are not. It's just not in them. It is not who they are. In the end, they continue to do what they continue to do because of who they really, really are, and the evidence of what they have shown they are capable of doing as people for hundreds of years. So with that, that's all. And I will see you all tomorrow. See, it's going in a different direction already. So, you know, you get to hear my vibe. You get to see where I'm coming from. I'm still working on the angles. I see this thing with my glasses. If I take my glasses off, I actually like that. And I can see enough. But then once I have them on, I got to wait for my eyes to adjust and all these other things. But maybe I'll just start, you know, doing that and not worrying about, start getting to the point where I'm not worrying about talking to the people in Turner's Church. So I have to have my chat box up here. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I will be here tomorrow, same channel. I am Veronica TB, Veronica TB on Turner's Church. If you want to message me, if you want to friend me, I'm plugging Turner's Church only, so not even any of my other things. Eventually, I guess I'll start putting those other social medias in the comment sections and all those things. But right now, this is about Turner's Church. If you want to watch the Bubbles and the Bears, go to Javon on Facebook. And I will see you all tomorrow, same time. Thanks for watching. Bye.